They laughed before she even spoke. The moment Maya stepped into the boutique, the laughter cut through the air, soft at first, then cruel like knives wrapped in perfume. Every head turned, every eye judged. Her faded brown dress, her scuffed shoes, her trembling hands clutching a worn purse. She didn't belong here, and everyone made sure she knew it. Maya had walked past the store 100 times, always pausing to admire the gowns behind the glass. Today, she'd finally gathered enough courage to walk inside. She wasn't here to buy. She knew she couldn't afford even a button from this place, but she just wanted to see beauty up close, maybe imagine herself wearing something elegant, even if only for a moment. The boutique glittered like a dream. Silk flowing like water, pearls shining under crystal chandeliers, and models laughing softly as they tried on gowns worth more than Maya's yearly rent. "Excuse me?" A saleswoman's voice sliced through her wonder. "These gowns are very expensive. Perhaps you're lost." A few girls giggled. Then a tall, graceful woman turned from a mirror. Vanessa, her lips curved into a cruel smile. "You call that a dress?" she said, her voice dripping with scorn. "She looks like she stitched it from a tablecloth." Laughter erupted again. Maya's cheeks burned, but she didn't speak. She lowered her eyes, clutching her purse tighter. Her mother's words echoed in her mind. "Walk tall, even when they look down on you." "I was just admiring the gowns," she whispered. Vanessa tilted her head. "How sweet. Maybe one day, when you marry a rich man, you can borrow one in a Temps Inn." The others laughed again. "I will go now," Maya said softly. As she turned to leave, the laughter followed her until she disappeared out the door. "That's enough." Another voice, calm, low, and commanding, broke the air. Everyone turned. At the corner stood a man, tall and composed, dressed simply in a black hoodie and jeans. His expression was unreadable. He had been there the whole time, quietly watching. Adrien Blackwood, a billionaire whose name everyone in the city whispered with awe, though few recognized him without his usual entourage. He had stopped by the boutique out of boredom, but now, watching the scene that had unfolded, his boredom vanished. He had seen something in Maya that silenced him, the quiet strength behind her embarrassment. She wasn't rude. She wasn't weak. She was graceful even while being humiliated. "Adrien?" Vanessa's smile froze. The room fell silent. "Wait," one of the girls whispered. "That's Adrien Blackwood." Vanessa's face went pale. "Adrien, what are you doing here?" she asked, forcing a laugh. "I didn't even see you come in." He ignored her question, walking straight to the counter. "I'll take every gown she looked at," he said, nodding in the direction Maya had gone. "Deliver them to her home." The staff blinked. "Sir, are you sure?" "Yes," Adrien replied evenly. "Every single one." Vanessa's voice trembled between confusion and anger. "You're buying for her?" "Adrien, she's a nobody." He turned to her slowly. His eyes were calm, but his tone carried quiet steel. "No one is a nobody, Vanessa. Especially not someone who's done nothing wrong." A stunned silence filled the boutique. Vanessa's perfect smile faltered for the first time in public. Adrien handed the manager his card and left without another word, leaving whispers and shock behind him. Outside, Maya sat on the curb of her rundown apartment, blinking back tears. She hated herself for walking into that store. She hated the laughter, the pity, the shame. Then a delivery van stopped beside her. "Miss Maya?" the driver asked. She looked up, startled. "Yes." "These are for you," he said, lifting a golden box. Inside she found gowns, soft silks, delicate lace, colors she'd only ever seen on runways. At the top was a white envelope written in neat, confident handwriting. "For the woman who deserves more than laughter." Maya's eyes filled with tears. She didn't know who had sent it, only that it came from someone who saw her differently. She smiled faintly, whispering, "Thank you, whoever you are." And not far away, inside a black car, Adrien watched through the tinted glass. His expression was unreadable, part guilt, part admiration. Vanessa had shown him a side of herself he could never unsee. But the girl in the torn dress, she had shown him something he thought he'd lost long ago: kindness. He didn't know her name yet, but he knew this was only the beginning. Days passed, but Maya couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious gift. Every time she opened her tiny wardrobe, the sight of the gowns made her heart flutter and ache at once. Who would do something so kind? And what? She wanted to return them, but the note had no name, no address, no number, just that single line. For the woman who deserves more than laughter. At first, she didn't dare touch them. It felt wrong, as if she didn't deserve such beauty. But one evening, after another long day of cleaning offices, she unfolded a soft blue gown and slipped it over her head. The fabric hugged her shoulders gently, making her look like someone she barely recognized, confident, graceful, radiant. For the first time in a long while, Maya smiled at her reflection. Maybe she wasn't as invisible as she thought. Meanwhile, in a quiet penthouse overlooking the city, Adrien Blackwood stared out the window, his mind still on the girl from the boutique. He couldn't explain why she lingered in his thoughts. It wasn't just pity. It was something deeper, the way she had carried herself even while humiliated, the quiet fire in her eyes. Vanessa, his fiancée, had tried to smooth things over after the incident, pretending it had all been a misunderstanding. "Darling," she'd said sweetly, "you embarrassed me in front of everyone. I was only joking with her." But Adrien hadn't laughed. "You were cruel," he said simply. "And that's not something to joke about." Since that day, something between them had shifted. He couldn't unsee what he'd seen, and he couldn't forget Maya. A week later, fate intervened. Adrien was leaving his private gym when he saw her again, Maya. She was at the public park nearby, wearing old sneakers and jogging slowly, determination in every step. Sweat glistened on her forehead, but she wasn't running to impress anyone. She was running to become someone stronger. He watched from a distance at first. Then, as she stopped to catch her breath, he walked closer. "Hey," he said softly. Maya turned, startled. Her eyes widened. "You." Adrien smiled faintly. "I was hoping you'd remember me." "You were at the store," she said. He nodded. "Just, I'm sorry for what happened there." Her eyes softened. "You have nothing to apologize for. You didn't laugh at me." "Maybe not out loud," Adrien said. That made her laugh, a real laugh. Warm and gentle. It was the first time he'd heard it, and it did something strange to him. They talked for a while about life, work, and how unfair people could be. Maya told him she was saving money to study fashion design someday. She spoke shyly, almost as if her dreams were too big to say aloud. Adrien listened quietly, fascinated. He wanted to tell her who he really was, that he owned several fashion brands and could make her dream come true instantly. But something stopped him. For once in his life, he wanted to be seen as just a man, not a billionaire. When they parted ways, Maya thanked him for being kind. "I hope life gives you back what you give to others," she said. He watched her walk away, her ponytail swaying, her spirit unbroken despite everything she'd endured. And for the first time in years, Adrien Blackwood smiled. Not the polite smile of a rich man in control, but the quiet, genuine smile of someone who had finally found a reason to feel alive again. The next time Adrien saw Maya, it wasn't by accident. He had started taking early morning runs through the park, the same route she used. Each time, he caught glimpses of her, focused, determined, her face glowing with effort and quiet strength. Sometimes she'd stop at the bench near the fountain, sketchbook in hand, drawing designs with a broken pencil. It fascinated him. A woman who owned nothing but dreamed in color. One morning as he jogged by, she waved shyly. "Morning, stranger," she said. "Morning," he replied, slowing his pace. "You're early." She shrugged. "The park's quieter before the city wakes up. Fewer people to laugh at my running shoes." He grinned. "They look perfectly fine to me." "They squeak," she said, giggling. "Every time I step, they remind me how poor I am." Her honesty made him laugh, really laugh. Something he hadn't done in a long time. From then on, their paths crossed every morning. What started as polite greetings turned into small talks, then long, unhurried conversations over coffee from the corner shop near the park. Maya discovered that Adrien was easy to talk to. He never acted superior or tried to impress her. He listened, really listened. And she found herself telling him things she hadn't told anyone. Her childhood dreams, her mother's sayings, her wish to design gowns for women like her, women who had been laughed at for not fitting in. Adrien, on the other hand, found peace in her simplicity. Around her, he wasn't the billionaire CEO people feared or flattered. He was just Adrien, a man who could laugh about burnt coffee and share silence without it feeling awkward. One morning, as they sat on a bench watching the sunrise, Maya opened her sketchbook. "Don't laugh," she said shyly, "but these are my designs." He took the book gently, flipping through the pages. The drawings were rough, but they had heart, real heart. Each dress seemed to tell a story of women rising, healing, daring to shine. "These are beautiful," he said softly. "You have real talent." She blushed. "They're just dreams. I can't afford fabric, let alone a fashion course." "Dreams don't start with money, Maya," he said. "They start with courage." She smiled, the kind that reached her eyes. "Then maybe I'm halfway there." Days turned into weeks. They grew close naturally, like two people who had known each other longer than time could measure. Sometimes they talked about random things, the smell of rain, the taste of street food, how stars never looked the same twice. Other times, silence said enough. But inside Adrien's heart, something was changing. Each time he looked at her, he felt the weight of the secret he was keeping. He wanted to tell her the truth, that he was Adrien Blackwood, owner of Blackwood Holdings, and that his penthouse overlooked the skyline she dreamed of designing for. But he feared what that truth might do. Would she still talk to him this way? Would she still trust him, or see him as one of those people who had once laughed at her? So he kept it hidden. One evening, rain began to fall as they walked toward the bus stop. Maya held her bag over her head, laughing. "You didn't bring an umbrella, did you?" Adrien asked. "No," she said, grinning. "But it's just rain. I've had worse." He removed his hoodie and held it above her head. "Then let's make it less worse." For a moment she froze, the simple gesture, the warmth in his eyes, the closeness. "Thank you," she whispered. They stood there side by side as the rain fell around them, a quiet world of silver droplets and unspoken words. Neither said it aloud, but both felt it. Something was growing between them, soft, slow, and dangerous. As the bus pulled up, Maya turned to him and smiled. "See you tomorrow. You can count on it." And as she disappeared into the crowd, Adrien knew his life, once cold, calculated, and predictable, had just become beautifully complicated. The morning the poster went up, Maya almost walked past it. It was taped crookedly on the wall of a small coffee shop. Bright letters read, "City Dreams Fashion Contest, a chance for aspiring designers to showcase their talent. Winner receives a scholarship and a brand partnership." She stopped, staring. A brand partnership? A scholarship? Her heart raced. Still, she tore off one of the contact slips and tucked it into her bag. "It doesn't hurt to dream," she whispered. That evening, as she sketched in the park, Adrien joined her. "You look deep in thought," he said. "I saw a contest," she replied softly. "For designers. The prize is a dream come true, but I don't have a mannequin or fabric or even a decent sewing machine." Adrien tilted his head. "What if you did?" She laughed. "Then I'd still need luck." "You'd need courage more than luck," he said. "Show me your sketches." She hesitated, then handed him her worn sketchbook. As he flipped through it, his mind raced. Her designs weren't just dresses, they were feelings, stories sewn into lines. That night, after walking her home, Adrien sat in his car for a long time. He knew what he wanted to do. It was risky. If she ever found out, she might feel betrayed. But he couldn't sit back while her dreams stayed trapped in that sketchbook. The next day, an anonymous package arrived at Maya's door. Inside was a brand new sewing machine and a small envelope. "Every dream deserves a beginning." Maya gasped. She looked around, expecting someone to step forward and claim responsibility. But the street was empty. Her heart swelled with gratitude and confusion. She worked through the nights, using old fabric and hand-stitching new pieces until her fingers ached. Each dress carried a piece of her soul. When the day of the contest arrived, She carried her designs in a ribbon-wrapped box filled with trembling hope. The venue was dazzling. Dozens of young designers stood behind glossy tables with elegant, professional gowns. Maya's corner looked plain, with her simple hand-sewn pieces. But when the judges approached, their eyes lingered. Her designs told a story of struggle, dignity, transformation. By the time they reached the last gown, a flowing cream dress embroidered with soft blue thread, the room had gone quiet. "Did you make this yourself?" the lead judge asked. Maya nodded. "Every stitch." He smiled. "Then you've just changed your life." Hours later, as the winners were announced, Maya trembled at the edge of the stage. When her name was called, she froze. The crowd cheered, lights flashed, and she covered her mouth in disbelief. She had won. Somewhere among the spectators stood a man in a black suit, watching quietly. Adrien didn't approach her, not yet. He wanted her victory to be hers. Vanessa, however, stood near the sponsor's table, her expression tightening when she spotted him. "Adrien," she whispered, fury burning behind her perfect smile. He ignored her. His eyes were only on Maya, the girl who had risen from humiliation to triumph. That night, Maya walked home beneath the streetlights, holding her certificate against her chest. For the first time in her life, the world had clapped for her, not out of pity, but out of recognition. She didn't know who had placed the right people in her path. She only knew someone out there believed in her. And that thought made her heart full. Meanwhile, Adrien sat alone in his car, watching the city glow below his penthouse. Proud, afraid, hopeful. He had given her the chance she deserved. But with every secret he kept, he knew the day would come when she would discover who he truly was. And when that day came, he prayed she would still see him, not the billionaire, not the name, just the man who had fallen deeply in love with the girl in the torn dress. The invitation arrived like a dream. Maya held the gold-embossed envelope with trembling hands. It was from the Blackwood Foundation, inviting her to the annual charity gala for rising designers, her first major showcase since winning the contest. "Mama, if only you could see this," she whispered. 4 days, she worked tirelessly on her gown, a flowing ivory masterpiece stitched with soft silver thread. It wasn't just fabric. It was her story, every tear, every humiliation, every flicker of hope. When she stepped into the grand ballroom, she felt like she'd walked into a fairy tale, chandeliers sparkling like stars, violins singing softly, elegant people gliding across marble floors. She clutched her small bag, her heart racing. "I made it," she thought. "I really made it." But then the host's voice echoed through the hall. "Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to tonight's sponsor, the one and only Mr. Adrien Blackwood." Maya froze. Slowly, she turned toward the spotlight. And there he was, the man who had met her at the park, who shared coffee and laughter under the rain, standing tall in a black tuxedo as cameras flashed. Behind him, the banner read, "Blackwood Foundation," in shining gold. Her world stopped. Her heart twisted. If he was a billionaire, how much of her journey had truly been hers? The contest, the sewing machine, the scholarship. Had she earned them, or had he placed them in her hands? Am I good enough, or was I just his project? She couldn't clap. She couldn't breathe. The warmth she once felt when thinking of him turned heavy, doubt, confusion, hurt tangling together. She turned away quickly, terrified he would see the disappointment in her eyes. Across the hall, Adrien's gaze found hers. For a heartbeat, their eyes locked. Hers, once full of light, were now cold, wounded. He took a step toward her. She looked away. A staff member touched her arm. "Miss Maya, they're ready for you backstage." She nodded, numb, and walked down the velvet-lined hallway. His words echoed painfully in her mind. Dreams don't start with money, they start with courage. Now those words felt hollow, empty. The MC's voice boomed over the speakers. "Please welcome our contest winner, Miss Maya Bennett." Applause filled the hall. Maya stepped into the spotlight, smiling faintly though her heart trembled. "Every dress I've sewn came from a place of struggle and hope," she said. "I wanted women like me to remember that beauty isn't in price tags, but in persistence." Her voice cracked. "But sometimes, Even persistence feels borrowed. The audience clapped, touched. But Adrien felt every word like a wound. Backstage, as she hurried to the restroom, a voice sliced through the air. Well, if it isn't the contest princess. Maya turned. Vanessa stood in a crimson gown, her smile sharp as glass. You clean up well, Vanessa sneered. For someone who started in the gutter. Good evening, Miss Vanessa, Maya said, straightening. Oh, don't be formal, darling. You and I have more in common than you think, starting with him. Maya froze. Excuse me? Don't act innocent. You really think a billionaire like Adrien Blackwood just wandered into your world by chance? Vanessa leaned in, her voice dripping venom. He helped you because you looked pitiful. Her voice lowered, dripping with mock sweetness. I suppose congratulations are in order, she sneered. Climbing your way up with charm and luck. It seems to have paid off, hasn't it? The words hit like knives. Maya's cheeks burned as a few nearby guests turned their heads. Laughter rippled softly, cruelly knowing. That's not true, she whispered. Vanessa leaned closer, her perfume thick and suffocating. Of course it's true. Poor girl from the streets wins a designer contest, lands on Adrien's arm. You're practically a cliché. Maya's throat tightened. Stop it. Vanessa chuckled, enjoying every second. You really think he loves you? Oh, honey, you're just another one of his charity projects. And when he's done fixing you, he'll move on to the next broken thing. Maya couldn't hold it in any longer. Enough, she cried, her voice breaking through the music and chatter. Dozens of eyes turned toward them. The musician stopped mid-note. Maya's face flushed as she realized everyone was watching, cameras flashing, whispers spreading like fire. Tears glimmered in her eyes, but she stood her ground. You don't know anything about me, she said, her voice shaking. I worked for everything I have. Every stitch, every sleepless night, it was mine. Vanessa's smile widened. Oh really? Then tell everyone how your mystery benefactor is actually Adrien Blackwood, my fiancé. Gasps rippled across the ballroom. Maya staggered back. Your fiancé? Vanessa held up her hand, flashing an enormous diamond ring. Oh, he didn't tell you, she said mockingly. How cute. The world spun around Maya. Adrien. Her Adrien. Engaged? Her chest felt like it was collapsing. She turned toward him as he pushed through the stunned crowd, calling her name. Maya. Wait, don't. She backed away, tears slipping down her face. Don't say a word. Vanessa smirked. You see? Even she knows it's true. Whispers grew louder. People stared, murmuring behind their hands. Adrien's jaw tightened. He stepped forward, his voice deep and steady. Enough, Vanessa. But Maya couldn't stand it anymore. The lights, the stares, the shame. All this time I thought I won, she choked. I thought someone finally believed in me, but it was you all along. You built the stairs and watched me climb them like a fool. Maya, please, he said softly. It wasn't like that. She turned and ran, tears falling faster than she could breathe. The crowd parted as she fled the ballroom, a blur of whispers, glitter, and heartbreak trailing behind her. That night, she sat alone on her bed, still in the gown she had made by hand. The contest certificate lay crumpled beside her. For the first time since the competition, she didn't feel like a designer. She felt like a joke. Did I really win? She whispered into the darkness. Or was I just part of his kindness? For days, Maya avoided calls, messages, and the world itself. Her phone buzzed constantly, reporters, designers, even Adrien. But she couldn't bring herself to answer. Every headline burned her eyes. Mystery unfolds at the Blackwood Gala. Who really is Maya Bennett? She threw the phone aside, clutching her knees. Her heart still ached for Adrien, but the wound of betrayal cut deeper. Was her success real, or had everything been built on the foundation of his influence? The sewing machine sat untouched in the corner, the same one that had once felt like a miracle. Now it looked like a reminder of everything she'd lost. Her pride, her trust, her dream. Then one morning she sat before it again. Her fingers trembled as they brushed the fabric. "No more pity," she whispered. "No more borrowed dreams." She began to sew, slowly, painfully. Each stitch carried her anger, her hope, her determination to rise again on her own terms. Days turned into nights. The rhythm of the needle became her heartbeat again. And with every piece she finished, she began to heal. Meanwhile, Adrien was breaking in his own way. He watched the headlines spiral, his company shaken, his engagement to Vanessa officially over. But none of it mattered. He didn't care about the money or the press. He only cared about Maya. He visited her apartment more than once, standing outside the gate for hours, hoping she'd come out. But she never did. Finally, he left an envelope under her door. Inside was a handwritten note. "I never meant to take your victory from you. You earned every piece of it. I only wanted to see you shine. But I understand now, I dimmed your light instead. I'll wait for the day you let me explain. Adrien." She read it. And for the first time, she didn't cry. Weeks later, she received an invitation, not from a sponsor, not from a foundation, but from a local art center. They'd seen her designs online and wanted to feature her work in a small independent showcase. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers. When the day arrived, she stood in a modest hall filled with handmade dresses and warm smiles. No chandeliers, no glitter, just people who came because they believed in her work, not the name behind it. And then she saw him. Adrien stood at the back. No tuxedo this time. Just a plain shirt. No cameras. No entourage. When their eyes met, she froze. He walked toward her slowly, giving her time to walk away. But she didn't. "Maya," he said softly, his voice low and uncertain. "I didn't come to interrupt. I just wanted to see you win for real this time." Her throat tightened. "Why didn't you tell me who you were?" He sighed. "Because every time I tried, I saw the way you looked at me. Not at my money, not my name, just me. And I was selfish. I wanted that a little longer." "Do you know what it felt like?" she whispered. "Thinking I was nothing more than your charity?" He stepped closer, voice breaking. "You were never my charity. You were my reminder that money can't make something beautiful, but love and courage can." Silence lingered. Maya looked around at the dresses she had made, each glowing softly under warm lights. "I built this myself," she said quietly. "No sponsors. No help." "I know," he said. "That's why it's perfect." She studied his face, the same face she once loved, and the same one that had broken her heart. "You hurt me, Adrien. I started to believe I wasn't good enough on my own." "You were always enough," he said. "I was the one who didn't trust you to believe it." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Maya sighed. "I don't know if I can forget what happened, but I think I can forgive it." A faint smile touched his lips. "That's more than I deserve." "You're right," she said softly. "But maybe that's how healing starts. One honest moment at a time." "You did this without me," he said, looking around with pride. "You proved everyone wrong. Including me." "Maybe proving you wrong was the easy part," she teased. They both laughed, soft, genuine. And for the first time in months, the space between them didn't feel broken. Adrien stepped back. "Whatever happens next, just know I'll be cheering for you. Not as a savior, just as a man proud of the woman who taught him what real success looks like." Maya nodded. "Then maybe you can stay as a friend. For now." He smiled, relieved. "That's a start I'll gladly take." 1 year later, the city no longer whispered about Maya Bennett. It celebrated her. Her fashion label, Radiance, had become a symbol of hope and authenticity. Her designs appeared in magazines, on runways, and in the lives of everyday women who saw themselves in her story, women who once thought they had nothing, yet found beauty in starting over. At her boutique's grand opening, the air buzzed with joy. Cameras flashed, journalists chatted, music floated softly. But Maya only saw one person, Adrien. His pride wasn't possessive. It was warm, gentle, admiring. When the crowd thinned, he approached quietly. "You've built something incredible," he said. She smiled. "We've both come a long way. Maybe, he replied, eyes glinting. But tonight is all yours. Maya laughed softly. You still say things that make me want to cry. Adrien reached into his pocket and brought out a small velvet box. Her breath caught. He opened it to reveal a simple, breathtaking ring, a thin gold band shaped like a delicate thread, holding a single diamond that sparkled like morning light. Maya Bennett, he said, voice steady. You've changed my life in ways I will never be able to explain. I don't want to stand behind you or in front of you, just beside you. Boys, will you marry me? Tears filled her eyes instantly. Yes, she whispered. 1,000 times yes. He smiled, the kind of smile that comes from peace. As he slipped the ring onto her finger, applause erupted across the boutique. You once bought every gown I looked at, she teased through tears. And now, I'm the one dressing the world. Adrien grinned. And I couldn't be prouder of the woman who taught me what real love looks like. The cameras flashed, friends cheered, and the two shared a quiet, tender kiss, surrounded by everything she had created from her own courage. Above them, the boutique sign shimmered in gold letters. Radiance, by Maya Bennett. And beneath it, she finally felt what she'd been searching for all along. Not validation, not approval, but peace. Love had found her again, this time, dressed in truth. Sometimes life dresses us in pain before wrapping us in purpose. Maya's story wasn't about a billionaire who changed her life. It was about a woman who discovered her own worth, and a man who learned that real love is built on respect, honesty, and partnership. She learned that dreams don't need privilege. They need courage. Because real success isn't about who helps you get there. It's about knowing you deserved it all along. Dressed in kindness. A story of love reborn, dignity reclaimed, and the beauty of believing in yourself. The end.